Sojourner Truth.
Sojourner Truth.
Sojourner Truth.
Born in Swartkill, New York as a slave in 1797, originally named Isabella Baumfree. She was one of 12 children. Her first language was Dutch, and she spoke with a Dutch accent her entire life. At the age of 19, she was sold at an auction with a flock of sheep for $100 to a slave master in Kingston, New York. She married an enslaved man named Robert, but later he was beaten for being her husband due to being owned by another slave master and her master not being able to own their children. She never saw him again, and she later married Thomas, also a slave, and had 5 children.
In 1826, Truth escaped to freedom with her daughter Sophia. A year later, the New York State Emancipation Act was approved, and she set out to recover and rescue her other 3 living children. Truth became one of the first Black women to go to court against a white man and win the case. She was suing to get her son Peter back. On June 1st, 1843, she changed her name to Sojourner Truth because she heard the Spirit of God telling her to go out and preach the truth.
To preach the truth.
To preach the truth.
After that, she traveled north to begin her ministry, taking only a few belongings in a pillowcase. She delivered her first anti-slavery speech in 1844, and in 1850, with the aid of a private publisher, published her book, The Narrative of Sojourner Truth, a Northern Slave. That same year, she spoke at the first National Women's Rights Convention in Worcester, Massachusetts. Her legacy lived on, encompassing one of her most memorable and reverenced speeches, Ain't I a Woman?, as well as her dedication to fighting for a more equal society for African Americans and women, in addition to recruiting Black troops for the Union Army.
She was invited to the White House in 1865 by Abraham Lincoln, as he recognized how important her work was to the rising tide of the abolitionist movement. Sojourner Truth passed away in 1883 in Battle Creek, Michigan. She was 86 years old. Frederick Douglass, a good friend of Truth, offered a eulogy for her in Washington, D.C. His last words for her defined a legacy: venerable for age, distinguished for insight into human nature, remarkable for independence and courageous self-assertion, devoted to the welfare of her race, she's been for the last 40 years an object of respect and admiration to social reformers everywhere.
This has been a Black History Moment, brought to you by Black Excellence Leadership Council. Until next time.